KMTV Action 3 News Weekend starts now.
And we begin tonight with this breaking news update. Right now, fire continues to tear through a building in Omaha's Old Market. More than 6 hours after an explosion rocked a popular restaurant, destroying M's Pub, and now the apartments above it. The restaurant and stores in that building were full of people. Thankfully, right now, there have been no reports of deaths. One person was rushed to Nebraska Medicine in serious condition. And right now, the buildings in the immediate area have been evacuated, and many streets in that part of the Old Market are blocked as well. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. We're bringing you team coverage of the fire. KMTV's Emily Zink spoke with employees working inside the restaurant when the explosion happened. Meteorologist John Walsh will explain how the weather is making things more difficult for firefighters. But we'll begin with reporter Miranda Christian, who has more on what happened in M's Pub today. Miranda?
Yes, and this has just been a constant battle, a very active scene all day. I'll kind of step out of the way. This looks the best it has all day. The fire seems to finally be in somewhat of control. We just saw one of the fire operation trucks pull out of here, which is a good sign for the state of this fire. We've just seen it engulfing over and over. We saw another apartment catch fire earlier, and these firefighters have been working hard for these 6 hours to make sure that they keep as much of this building standing.
Could have been a bomb go off is what our initial thought was. I don't know. That's just what we thought. Because like I said, the building shook, our windows shook.
I was just in one of the shops, and one of the guys said it shook his whole shop right when the explosion happened.
People felt it.
I mean, it looks like they can't control it right now.
And could see it after a possible explosion rocked the Old Market, igniting a fire that burned for hours. The first calls came in about 3 this afternoon. M's Pub was full of diners and workers, with shoppers and employees inside nearby stores.
As of right now, the fire is still not under control.
Fire Chief Bernie Kanger says the fire was raised to a second, then third alarm.
The purpose of the second alarm was due to the extent of the fire, the size of the structure, and having to clear all of the buildings to make sure that we've evacuated all of the occupants and we could contain the fire.
Firefighters pulled back, fearing the building would soon collapse.
These types of structures have a brick exterior and a wood frame interior, which makes a collapse potential very real for our people.
As firefighters sprayed the building from ladders, part of the roof caved in.
We have a defensive perimeter set up.
The fire spread through the second and third floor of the building. Flames tore through the roof and windows. Through the day and into the night, neighbors watched in sad silence.
I live 2 blocks away. It's close to home.
Now, the start of this fire and what happened is still under investigation. We were told that there were actually workers working in the basement of here earlier today. Of course, we'll bring you updates with what happens when we find out. Reporting live in downtown Omaha, I'm Miranda Christian, KMTV Action 3 News.
Okay, Miranda, thank you. There are many people who live in the upper floors of that building, and the smell of gas permeated the entire building and area just before the explosion, giving people inside moments to get out.
The smell of gas on 11th and Howard was so awful I couldn't breathe. So I pulled my car in the alley and I ran upstairs and dropped off my work, and I called 911 to tell them about the gas, that I could smell a leak, and I ran to my neighbors and knocked on their doors to tell everyone to get out, and my friend and I started to gather our stuff, and the whole building shook with the explosion. Smoke started filling. I'm on the 4th floor. It was already coming in the 4th floor. We tried to get on the elevator, got stuck in the elevator on the 2nd floor, but it opened up and we came running out, and they were evacuating. The explosion took place at M's, and people were screaming and running out of there, trying to get away from the fire. And the police were just yelling for everyone to evacuate the.
In fact, other witnesses told us they saw people pouring out of M's Pub with blood streaming from cuts on their head. Again, though, no critical injuries or deaths reported in this, and an observant person inside the restaurant is likely the reason why people were able to escape. We go now live to reporter Emily Zink, who spoke with M's employees about the moments before the blast. Emily.
Well, Kevin, as we just heard from that other witness, the smell in the area of natural gas was so overwhelming. Employees tell me they knew something was wrong, but they never thought this would be the outcome of what they smelled.
It's a job. It's so sad.
As devastating as the scene is.
That's so many people's anniversary spots, birthday spots.
M's Pub employees say things could have been much worse.
I smelled a pretty strong smell of gas, and I looked at other two girls. I said, does anybody smell gas? They're like, no.
Server Angelina Mangiamelli followed her nose.
It's not just a job. It's so sad.
As devastating as the scene is.
That's so many people's anniversary spots, birthday spots.
M's Pub employees say things could have been much worse.
I smelled a pretty strong smell of gas, and I looked at other two girls. I said, does anybody smell gas? They're like, no.
Server Angelina Mangiamelli followed her nose and instincts and went outside to question some workers drilling in the area.
I said, did you guys hit a line or something? And they said, yeah, we did. So I ran out into the kitchen and I told the chefs, they hit a line, you guys need to go and act fast.
Angelina says the chefs worked as quickly as possible to shut off all the gas in the building, including the main source in the basement.
And nobody knew that it was just a ticking time bomb.
Time was not on the restaurant's side.
And just like that, I mean, it just blew up.
Employees say smoke filled the building and flames started shooting from the basement.
The explosion knocked all of us over and everything was loud and broken, but I mean, we're okay.
Server Emily Brewer says a chef who was coming up from turning off the gas in the basement was injured, and another had a tooth knocked out by the explosion. But everyone is alive.
I want to give Angelina so much credit because I think if she hadn't insisted that something felt wrong, kind of like instinctively, we wouldn't have gotten the gas lines turned off.
Angelina says she is no hero. She just really loves her job.
I think instincts kick in, and you're working in a restaurant where you really care and love everybody that's there, and I think safety is the biggest thing.
Everyone in that restaurant thought quickly, did exactly what they had been told and trained to do. I spoke with the co-owner of M's Pub earlier on in the afternoon. She says she's still in shock. She's devastated, but her restaurant has been around Omaha for generations, and they hope to carry it on, if not at this spot, somewhere else. Live in downtown Omaha, Emily Zink, KMTV Action 3 News.
Emily, thank you. Other M's Pub's workers rushed to the old market when they learned about the fire. Erin Higgins has worked at M's for 3 years and came down to check on her co-workers after learning about what's happened. She, like her co-workers, are shocked and say watching their place of work burn down is surreal.
Kind of in shock, and I know that my employment there is obviously not going to be the same as it was. I hope it can be reopened or that it's salvageable, but that's not really, I don't even know how to process that at this point, just kind of taking it all in.
Like those other workers we heard from, Higgins says tonight while she's concerned about what she'll do for work now, she is relieved everybody survived. The old market is packed on Saturday afternoon. One woman told us she was visiting a friend in the old market when she stopped at a nearby shop to check out a sale. Little did she know what was about to happen.
It was just boom, my whole body shifted backwards, and I was closest to the window. In front of me when I was looking, the whole wall just exploded out. People started screaming. I saw one lady, she had like blood on her face.
Nia Murphy there says the street was immediately filled with smoke, but everyone in that store across the street was able to make it out of a back door safely. And you're sending us your pictures and videos of the fire today. Viewers sent us these photos as fire first erupted from the basement area under M's Pub. The smoke billowed from the building, filling streets of the old market as shoppers and diners went outside to see what happened. The smoke could be seen for miles across Omaha as the fire burned today. Another viewer sent us this video from across the street. Firefighters just arriving and setting up their hoses, and people standing around still trying to figure out exactly what happened. And those firefighters have been battling these flames since 3 o'clock this afternoon. And right now they're dealing with extremely cold temperatures and wind, making their job even harder. After just a couple of hours on scene, firefighters reported some of their equipment wasn't working properly because of the cold. Masks and valves were iced over, and fire officials say the weather is still having a major effect on how these firefighters are working tonight.
As it's extremely brutal this evening, the wind is not helping our matter at all, as we've got a pretty strong wind that helps push this fire.
The fire department has established a rehab center where fires go to rest, rehydrate, warm up before heading back to the front lines of this firefight. So far, there have been no reports of any injuries to firefighters. Everyone who works and lives near M's Pub has been evacuated. The Omaha Fire Department called in the American Red Cross to help out families who live in the area. The Red Cross has set up a staging area at the Residence Inn near 15th and Dodge, not far away. Director Liz Dorland says anyone in need of help due to the fire should come meet with them.
Do they have a place to stay? Do they need clothing or assistance with food? Those sorts of things. So we'll be able to provide basic needs for them for the next couple days.
Again, if you need help, if you're displaced by this fire, the Red Cross is set up at the Residence Inn, 106 South 15th Street. All right, we heard the fire chief talking about the extreme weather conditions right now in the Old Market and across Omaha. We'll bring in meteorologist John Walsh to tell us about what type of effect and how quickly things can ice over out there. John?
Yeah, it's very difficult for firefighters. They have to keep things circulating. Water does not tend to freeze as long as it's moving. It resists freezing in that case, but firefighters constantly have to keep things circulating around their equipment to keep the pumps operating, the hydrants operating, and they also have to keep that water drained to keep it from freezing, like hose couplings and that sort of thing. Not to mention the threat of frostbite and slipping in icy conditions out there. Right now we go down to street level, down in the neighborhood in the Old Market area. It is 0 with a wind chill of 23 below zero presently. And as we take a look at temperatures into the overnight hour, it's going to be dropping below 0. We'll maintain wind speeds in that 10 to 15 mile per hour category. They haven't been as gusty as they were earlier this afternoon, but that's going to keep the wind chills right around 23 below 0. There's a wind chill advisory that goes into effect at midnight tonight. We are already at the upper echelon of that advisory criteria with those 23 below wind chills currently across the area there. We'll talk about how cold Sunday will be and take a look at another shot of colder air headed our way. And we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Kevin?
John, thank you. The Omaha community is already rallying around those fire victims. The Tavern, a bar in the Old Market, posted this to their Instagram page, asking customers to tip big. A portion of their tips tonight will go to the employees of M's Pub, who will likely be out of a job for a while. The bar is located on 10th and Jackson in the Old Market. Here's another live look now at the 3-alarm fire consuming this building in the Old Market. To recap, firefighters have been on scene since about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Fire Chief Bernie Kanger says the old wooden structure inside that brick building, along with the bitter cold temperatures and wind, are making it difficult for firefighters to get at these flames. The American Red Cross is helping people who lived in the apartments above M's Pub who have been evacuated while crews work to control this fire. You can find more from the fire chief and hear from other people who were in the area when the explosion happened on our website, KMTV.com. Now, this is not the first time a fire crews have fought a major fire in the Old Market area. This is video from